Could you tell us a little bit about what we're supposed to do with these hidden truths that are surfacing, especially if some of them are hard to accept or seem to be dark or something along these lines? What is it that we're supposed to do as light beings when these truths surface, and how much should we be focusing on them?
Ah, it is not to go seeking them out or to forcefully shed light necessarily on them, but due to the fact that so much plasmic light is hitting the planet at this time, it is a natural unfoldment that much is coming to the surface to seek attention for the recognition that it has been there, and not to deny it, but to recognize and to see it, to bring it to the surface for all to see, and for an opportunity for an understanding of where it originated from, and to go to the core of its origin, to the root of where it took place, and to go into that deep rooted space and to look at it and to bring the vibration of compassion and of love to it, where it began to flower or proliferate or expand energetically in certain pockets, because the origin was never recognized. It was only the reprimanding of the surface energies of the outcome or the ramifications of the origin itself. And so blame often takes place in this way when one is only looking at the surface results rather than spiraling into the depth with compassion of where it originated from. And with that and the shedding of light on that origin, when one can have true understanding and compassion of where it came from, where its seed point was, then it no longer carries any strength and nothing more can be born from it.
Yes, and last question before we open it up, just a follow up on that, to ask, a lot of people struggle to have compassion for some of these things because they feel that in doing so, they invalidate the experience of those that might be a victim to the truths that are being exposed. How do we balance of going into having compassion for all things while honoring all experiences?
Ah, perhaps there is something in particular you are referencing in which you are hiding.
Well, there are just lots of things coming up to the surface, and I'm talking about wars, I am talking about child trafficking, I am talking about all kinds of things that are happening in governments around the world, or at least that seem to be being revealed at this point, and we don't know for sure. And I'm just curious that when we bring up a topic such as war, or the abuse of children, or any of these kinds of things, how do we toe the line of holding compassion for the origin of where something has come from and the honoring of someone else's experience with the condemnation that what happened to them was wrong?
Ah. Well, from a much larger perspective, there is no victim or no perpetrator. And yet, the idea of that is horrifying and very difficult to even begin to contemplate, because especially in a situation where one is harmed or an innocent's life is taken in some way, one wants to find who did it, who is the perpetrator, who is the one to blame, who is it the one to hold responsible, who is it the one to jail, who is it the one to throw stones at for that act. And we understand that that is the reality and the paradigm of the construct of the human experience that you are facing at this time. And in doing that, that gives a sense of peace or a sense of perhaps validation for the one who was victimized or hurt in some way, or on the other end of something that was horrific. But often these energies that that are playing out stem from something much wider, much larger, much bigger, much more hidden, that are playing with this frequency. And in doing so, it is done to create a sense of separation. It is done to create a sense of the vibration of victimhood and perpetrator and blame, so that more war and more energy can be cultivated and drawn upon in those vibrational fields. And so when one gives into that, although it appears to be the way to behave in such a situation, it fuels the origin of where the energy itself is coming from, which is a control mechanism coming from a few that are operating in a way to keep a sense of a pivoting against one another. And so when they can create a scenario or a story or a situation which is true and valid, that takes place and is horrific, but it is perpetuated or expanded or highlighted, it creates a sense of injustice within others, and they become angry. And in that angriness, they fuel towards something in a sense of what is right and what is wrong, which creates more polarity. But if one can move beyond the story of what is occurring and look at it at a deeper level, and are able to find, which is not easy, we understand, a sense of compassion and a sense of integration between the victim and the perpetrator choosing to play out this particular scenario, and they are able to transcend that energy to find forgiveness and to find compassion and to go to the seed point of the origin of the trauma itself, it then dislodges the energetic pattern that then no longer has to continue to perpetuate or play itself out, in which it pulls it up from the root, and that in which is trying to continue that to proliferate has nothing to send out. No more signals can get hooked within the energetic field because it's not allowing itself to be hooked into it. Now we recognize from the framework of the structure of the cognitive thinking of the mind in your current way of operating, this seems very difficult, and we recognize that. But the transcendence of that, with the capacity to perhaps place the attention on the origin of the perpetrator's seed point, to find that seed point and step into a state of forgiveness and compassion, dislodges the energetic pattern in which the need for it to continue to perpetuate itself further in the collective no longer exists, because there is no longer polarity. It moves into a state of neutrality. However, it requires larger numbers of people to move into that state of consciousness simultaneously in order to deactivate these perpetual frequencies of war and child trafficking, etc. And until the consciousness is able to step into that frequency, they will continue to be a witness to these specific ways of being and events that are continuously unfolding in your reality.
Thank you, Raphael. And lastly, how do we who want to choose that summon the strength to choose compassion and forgiveness in the face of an extreme emotional reaction to something that seems horrific?
To find where within you, perhaps at a much smaller scale, you have had a similar reaction or behaved in a certain way. And you might say, well, there is nothing that I have ever done in my life that could come anywhere close to the crimes that we are speaking of. But perhaps within the psyche, there is some seed, some piece that is seeking support, love, understanding, compassion. Because if it is to invoke such emotion within you as it is reflected to you, it means that a piece of that, which is part of the web of the collective of all consciousness, is residing inside. And it is beckoning and begging of your attention to be seen and to be loved and to be forgiven within your own self. We all know that we are in very intense and turbulent times, and these are times where it's so important more than ever to gather together collectively in union and in love to raise our vibration and the vibration of the planet. There's nothing better than doing that during the Lion Gate when the portal is open and the veil is thin. The Lion Gate is on 8/8. We're going to gather at 11:11 a.m. It's donation based, it's open to everybody, and I can't wait to see you there, and I love you. Mwah.